really, really need it. And these things can happen. You can manifest them. But I think ultimately that our lives are part and parcel, or tailor-made in a certain way, and they unfold in accordance in a certain timeline, right? That, I mean, that's what astrology I find is about, and I don't knock astrology at all. There's a timeline, and it's saying certain events happen at certain times and certain stages of your life. And I think it's got to be planned out that way. I don't just think it's just a random walk. I don't think as well that nature, that this planet was designed, in the beginning without the intentions of the human narrative. I'm saying even if we, it was a memetoids, or whatever, living, it was just all ocean, and then, we just evolved from fish to, from whatever, what these, I don't know, all the terms are, from, this is where I don't have a strength with, but, evolution, we didn't, we left the oceans or something like that, or we, as monkeys from the trees, like, even if that's where we evolved from, the very beginning of the design on the intention of nature was that it factored in humans and human destiny and dharma. There's no question about it. The human beings didn't just evolve by mistake or land on this planet in an accidental way. It was designed in the blueprint. It was a thought in the blueprint of the physical manifestation of this reality. The mystical was built inherently into it. I mean, the fact that psychedelic plants, right, that certain chemicals in certain number of plants, have a certain type of activity on the brain or on the mind, which leads to these kind of experiences of spiritual peak experiences, or alternative dimensions. They were put there on purpose. It wasn't an accident. Nature designed the DMT into nature, I mean, you can find it in grass, right? It can be found in the human body, and all the other, mushrooms, for example, etc. It was all made part and parcel with intention of the human narrative and the human existence. There's no question about it. I mean, there's some things that absolutely blow my mind, why it went to such great efforts to create all these weird and strange and wondrous creatures that live in the oceans that, like, I think majority have been never discovered. There's more species in the ocean than I don't know by how many times the amount of species that are on the sand, on the ground, on the soil. I mean, so it's strange and all these bizarre, like, what is the intentions behind these? I mean, I went to an aquarium the other day, and these really, with a jellyfish, what on earth is a jellyfish about? Like, what's it doing? It's such a this thing actually can have a mind and it thinks. So how is this possible? How do we even relate to such a weird phenomenon? And many others of the sea, and also on land as well, many bizarre, strange looking creatures. And sometimes I think, which is, I had this thought a long time ago, is that this is some kind of virtual world or something like that, not in a nihilistic way, or not in a prank kind of matrix way. I think there is a matrix within this world, but I think there is the natural world and there's the unnatural world, which is the world of the mind, right? And things like that. So, what am I saying here? What I'm saying is, if this is some kind of dimension that has been designed, I'm just, for lack of a better metaphor, like as if we design worlds on computers with code, right? Then I think that the coders of this reality, for purposes of imagination, for creativity, came up with all these weird creatures and then sort of zapped them in, into this reality just for variety, just for human curiosity, just even for themselves to see what they could do within this reality, what they could make up with, how they could, create some kind of species or, something, whatever, that could coexist within this world and also have some kind of benefit, right? Like a jellyfish or something like that. I mean, all the components had to be in place, like the plankton in the ocean that breathes the majority of, I believe, the oxygen, that makes the amount of oxygen that the world needs. And the plankton are aware of how much oxygen is needed, so they, it's supply and demand, and yet they know how much is needed, or something like that. It's a symbiosis. It's all connected. It's all interconnected. It's all related. It's all in relationship with everything else, so it can have this kind of balance, right? The nature was not designed to be so, what seems so unjust. Like, there's many things I don't understand about it, like the fact that everything needs to feed off something else on an energetic level. It's no animal just, has sort of free energy that just survives off the sun. Okay, maybe there are some species that only eat algae, but even algae is probably alive or has some kind of, life to it or something or other. Even though we eat vegetables, there is some kind of life to it, right? And fruits and things like that, and seeds, and to some degree, which I think that's why it's probably very important to try and be as natural as we possibly can be. I mean, not that I'm vegan at all, and even though vegan is probably not as, necessarily healthy, but maybe more ethical in certain ways, but, yeah. So it's all been having to be factored in. This process of life and death and birth and, rebirth, death and reincarnation as well. I mean, even it's all been it all needs to be factored in. So it can't at all be random. Otherwise, there would be no sense of order. There would be no sense of meaning. There would be no sense of practicality whatsoever. The most impractical species is the human species on this planet. But they were also accounted for. We can't think that there was a divine plan made without the intentions that human beings were not going to drive a planet into extinction. I don't think that the intelligence of the universe could anticipate, like I'm saying, or understand how hard it is for individuals, for human beings to reach levels of consciousness where they do no harm. Especially without living in nature, without the psychedelics, without the ceremonies, without the teachings from the past. There's just no ways, right? I mean, I don't personally think so. Or maybe, I mean, who knows how far back it goes? Maybe there was only, who knows if the planet has been people from other planets, maybe that's why there's different races, because they were brought down from other planets, or that the gods came and had sex with the woman of this, of the species of planet Earth, and then they gave birth to all different kinds of species with different kind of consciousness, with different kind of cultures, with kind of, DNA or something like that. I mean, who knows, right? But even if that was the case, then it was still calculated into all the possibility, right? And so I don't think that it's not part of a plan, and I really don't feel that there was any way that human beings were supposed to, reach a level of consciousness which didn't drive the world into an extinction level. Human beings, there wasn't enough time, and there was the influences, the so-called negative influences, which there have been, didn't allow human beings to evolve consciously, right? There's just it makes no sense whatsoever. I think what we see in the world today was completely predictable by the divine's eyes, right? From the very from the very first, I don't know what you want to call the manifestation of this reality, of this physical reality, that it was absolutely not just considered, but a knowing. If we're talking about divine intelligence, the universe, So again, I'm just saying that we factor in our own lives the story of where we are at and our part in it, and our purpose in it, and know that it's so short-lived. It's very, very temporary. Do you know how temporary it is? And to know also that I don't know. I mean, you just want to be an agent of change for the good. That's what I think creates one of the more meaningful existences. Anyways, folks, I'm very tired. So the second talk I've done, one after the other, and it's a late hour, so I'll end up on that. Appreciate you taking the time. Take care.